Hello there, good evening. Welcome to day 3 of the Vitality Challenge, where we're going through some different foods and supplements that you can add into your diet to help you have more energy and vitality on a daily basis. And I just want to reiterate, I said this last night, but setting aside the issue of clinical depression, which I talked about last night, and how diet and exercise have helped me so much with that. Sorry, it's like really annoying me that it's still not level. Minor details. There we go. But short of clinical depression, I feel like there are many of us who have sorry, it's saying it's trying to connect, but it's still recording, so I guess I'll keep talking. Never seen that before. There are many of us who have low energy, like energy crash in the afternoons, lack of focus, difficulty concentrating. Those kinds of symptoms are exactly what this can help with. That's exactly what nutrition can help you with. Even if you don't feel that your symptoms rise to the level of clinical depression. And having felt that way for many years, I can honestly tell you that I don't feel that way anymore. And I attribute it, it's changed over a period of years. Now I can't tell if that just took a big long break. It was like trying to reconnect and then but it said that it was still recording. But then it just showed me I've only been live for 1 minute and 30 seconds. So I'm going to real quick recap what I just said. But for many years, for like most of my adult life, I had energy crashing in the afternoon, difficulty concentrating, lack of focus. Like it would feel like I'm like staring at my computer screen and like the wheels are turning in my brain and nothing is connecting. Perhaps you know that feeling. Give me some hearts if you know that feeling. But I had pretty much resigned myself to the fact that like, this is just kind of how I feel. But I have found that over the last 5 years or so, as I've really started making some dietary changes, changes to diet and exercise, I feel a lot better and I have sustained energy throughout the day. So that's why I'm so passionate about sharing with you what these things are that I have added into my diet that I believe have allowed me to feel this much better. Hey Stacy, thanks for getting on. So tonight we're talking about greens, and as you can tell by the description with this video, they're a pretty powerful food group or type of food or whatever you want to call it. And specifically, I'm mostly talking about dark leafy greens, so things like kale, collard greens, Swiss chard. So, you know, iceberg lettuce is not going to cut it when it comes to these benefits I'm describing. There are some dark green vegetables like broccoli that have some similar benefits or some overlap. But kale, Swiss chard, and collard greens, and also dandelion greens, if you can find them, are, I think, the main ones that we're talking about here. Basil has some of these effects too, but so these dark leafy greens are something that I try to include in my diet every single day. So I want to hear if you're watching either now or, well, obviously now, like when I'm talking, but if you're watching the replay or watching live, tell me how often do you eat dark leafy greens? Just, you know, once a week, once a day, once a month. Tell me how often. And by the way, don't forget, for this challenge as a whole, participation counts for entries for the prize drawing. One person will get a supplement of their choice for free based on all the ones that I talk about over the 5 days. And every comment counts as an entry, and every message you send me, basically one per day of something you learned in today's video. So you can watch the 5 days and tell me all 5 days at once or one day at a time. And I'm already getting some responses from you guys, and I just love hearing what you're learning. That completely makes my day. So if you are participating, if you are watching the videos, just make sure you really quick type out one thing that you learned that was new for you, and send it to me. Or you also can leave it below the video as well. And while we're on this topic, the deadline for the prize entries is April 1st, end of the day, so 11:59 p.m. Eastern. And then I'll do the drawing on April 2nd, but the videos are coming down at the end of the day on April 1st. So you have a week after the challenge wraps up to watch the videos. All right, so let's talk about greens. Now, if you have looked at your program guide, you'll have this basic overview already. If you have not looked at your program guide, check out the files section in this group because it's there. It's a PDF that has a lot more information even than what I'm sharing in the videos. Additional articles you can read and everything. But greens are a potent source of vitamins A, C, and K, as well as folate. And the calcium connection, I think, is so fascinating. So vitamin K, which I just mentioned, is one of these vitamins that are plentiful in greens. Vitamin K helps our bodies better absorb calcium. So, Americans are kind of unique, especially here in Wisconsin, in how much dairy we consume. And the whole Milk It Does a Body Good campaign and Strong Bones. So it is true that dairy products have high calcium content. However, if you look at cultures that don't consume dairy or don't consume much dairy and do consume a lot of greens, they actually have a lower incidence of osteoporosis than we do. So like like Japan is one that comes to mind, where they eat a lot of greens and they don't drink milk, and yet they don't get osteoporosis, which is bone loss as you age. They don't get it anywhere near as often as Americans do. So there's a lot of nutrition experts that whose blog posts I read who are like, so that should be telling us something. So you have the calcium content of the greens, and then this vitamin that helps you absorb the calcium. Some things I've read indicate that calcium from milk is not that well absorbed. Again, this is something where there are conflicting opinions. It's a little bit controversial, but if you look at the incidence of osteoporosis here, given how much dairy we consume, I think that tells you something. So I personally do eat dairy, but I don't drink a ton of milk. Actually, I'd love to hear from you guys who are watching, who drinks milk? Let me know in the comments if you sit down and you ever just drink a glass of milk. My husband does a lot, and I used to as a kid. That's how I grew up. That's what was on the dinner table, is a glass of milk with your dinner. I don't do that anymore. I have like a little splash of milk in my shake. I eat cheese pretty often, yogurt, cottage cheese. But dairy in moderate portions compared, I think, to a lot of people here in Wisconsin. So that's kind of where I've landed personally on dairy, but it also doesn't bother my system. It doesn't upset my stomach or anything. I tolerate it just fine. So obviously, if you are lactose intolerant, that's not an option for you anyway. So then you really want to make sure to be getting other sources of calcium. And again, even more so than taking a supplement, getting it in a food where it's coming to you along with a vitamin that helps you absorb it is really powerful. Nature's pretty smart, huh? All right. Oh, this study finding is really cool. The risk of hip fracture in middle-aged women, the study found decreased 45% if they had at least one serving per day of green leafy vegetables, compared to fewer. So I guess that's compared to 0. or less than one full serving. So 45%. That's pretty incredible. All right, greens are also rich in iron. And the thing to know about this, I guess this is where maybe nature is not quite as smart. So if you, for example, well, okay, so plant sources of iron are better absorbed when eaten in conjunction, or the iron is better absorbed when eaten in conjunction with vitamin C. So actually, I had gotten in the habit of just taking a vitamin C supplement whenever I'm eating my leafy greens, because I was anemic for a while and my kidneys are not 100%. So the hormone that starts the process of making red blood cells starts in the kidneys. So it's naturally just low for me, my red blood cell count. So I try to get extra iron just to make sure there's a rich environment for making those cells for what amount of the hormone I do have. So I'm really, really conscious of how much iron I consume and maximizing absorption. And pretty much if I'm having greens or, lentils and chickpeas, any plant sources of iron, I'll have a vitamin C supplement along with it. The other thing to know about that is if you're drinking a liquid with tannins, like coffee or tea or wine, that blocks iron absorption. However, if you look at the research, again, the vitamin C supplement reverses that effect. So then, I don't usually drink coffee with dinner. I used to sometimes drink wine, but then having that vitamin C present in your digestive system at the same time allows the body to then still absorb the iron, even if the tannins are also present. So, vitamin C supplements, again, from what I understand, their ability to prevent getting a cold is not clinically proven. It might be more of a placebo effect according to research findings. But, anecdotally, we all hear from so many people they take massive doses of vitamin C during winter and they don't get sick. And I can say the same. I eat pretty healthy, so there's a lot of reasons that may be contributing to me not getting sick, but I pretty much don't get sick. Knock on wood now that I've said that, but haven't been sick once this year. All right. So greens also, pretty much any vegetable, any brightly colored vegetable anyway, is rich in antioxidants, which those have cancer-fighting properties and anti-aging properties. So we just want to be getting lots of those all the time. So that's no different than any other plant, but greens have these special kind of superpowers as well. Now, the thing that I find the most fascinating, there's a whole bunch of articles about everything I've said so far, so you can go and read about it in your program guide. But if you only pick one, check out the one on it's called Hormone Balance in Your Liver Function. I'm going to open it up just so I have it in front of me. So this is a nutrition coach and blogger that I really like and respect. The fact that I like her is maybe not. What I mean by that is I like her approach, and I trust her writing. I believe, what she writes is well informed and, in my opinion, is a very smart take on these issues. Again, it's just my opinion. But I did want to say I feel she has a lot of credibility. So, I talked in yesterday's video about adaptogens, and I talked about hormone balance and the role of the liver. So in our bodies, the liver helps to maintain estrogen specifically. I don't know about other hormones because this article is about estrogen. But the liver helps to maintain estrogen levels by removing any excess from the blood. So if the liver is not working as efficiently as it should be or could be, then it doesn't remove that excess estrogen fast enough. And we have extra circulating estrogen, which can play a role in things like infertility, fibroids, endometriosis. So what can cause the liver to not be working so efficiently? So one is if it's stressed by having to remove other things from our system. So having to detoxify from drinking alcohol, or prescription drugs, pesticides, environmental pollutants. Now, it really gets under my skin when people say, oh, like the concept of a detox is like ludicrous, or it's a sham like idea, because the body just has its own processes to detoxify. It's just something that it does naturally. It's not something where you have to like eat a special diet, like detox diet. So they're not wrong in that statement necessarily, but so the body does have really incredibly powerful mechanisms to detoxify all of the contaminants and pollutants that are all around us, things we take in through our skin and through our lungs, and through our digestive system every single day. It's really amazing. However, I do think that there are things we can do to help it along, to help those processes along, to help our organs do their job better. So one of the things that can cause the liver to be less efficient is a mineral deficiency. If you're not getting enough of the nutrients that your liver needs to detoxify and to just do its job, including removing estrogen, bringing it back to why we're talking about this. So the nutrients that your liver requires to do its job: B vitamins, folic acid, vitamin C, vitamin E, certain amino acids, and certain antioxidants. So I just thought this was really powerful, because we hear about antioxidants all the time, right? And, you know, drink red wine and eat berries and eat dark chocolate. And it's just like antioxidants are, you know, cancer fighting and anti-aging. And yes, that's important, but it's kind of like, it feels like it's something that's a bonus to me. I don't know, tell me if you agree. But when I read that our liver actually needs these antioxidants to do its job, then it's like, wow, these are actually essential. They're not just a bonus. So just one more reason that, you know, eating a diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables is, I think, super important and just helpful in so many different ways, including helping your liver function the way that it's supposed to and just function at its best. Oh, and another thing, so if our liver is not doing its job as well as it could be, this can contribute to PMS symptoms and more exaggerated PMS symptoms, including migraines. So, you know, I've read a million articles about why, like what causes PMS and what causes it to be more severe. You know, mood swings, cramping, bloating, things like that. But it really hits home for me when we have the mechanism, right? That it's about the liver. And, you know, if you're having very severe PMS symptoms, that is a signal that your body is not perhaps detoxifying as well as it could be. Or your body is not balancing your hormones as well as it could be. And to just really have those specifics brings it home for me. So let me know if you agree with that. That kind of like piecing those links together really, it just kind of helped it click into place for me that, okay, this is how my diet affects my experience the week before having my period. When I understand that mechanism, then it's easier for me to take action instead of eating the candy bar like, you know, sometimes I want to. Oh, and the other thing, this article is like gold. I seriously read it. But the cool thing about, well, linking back to yesterday, so the other cool connection / disturbing connection. So cortisol, remember that stress hormone that contributes to belly fat, and it's like part of the fight or flight. response, but that's supposed to be activated rarely. For many of us, it's activated every day. So cortisol blocks progesterone receptors, which can lead to or exacerbate the symptoms of estrogen dominance. So you have the liver not working well, leaving too much estrogen circulating in the blood, and then you also have excess cortisol from stress. And it's blocking your progesterone receptors, which is making the problem worse, right? Further upsetting the balance between estrogen and progesterone. So what do we want to do? We want to eat those leafy greens, which help the liver do its job, and keep the body from getting so out of balance this way. We want to give our body the nutrients it needs to do to perform that detoxifying function and hormone balancing function. And just the other thing to mention briefly in relation to this, so there are many different substances that can mimic estrogens, in the body. So a lot of the personal care ingredients that are now, required to be listed on labels, like PCBs is one that's mentioned, and phthalates as well. These are things that when they get into our bloodstream, act like estrogen. And again, it's contributing to that estrogen dominance phenomenon. So clean, organic, personal care products. Even we're looking into getting organic cotton mattress, things like that. Like just looking at what's like the coding on receipt paper, like take the digital receipt if you can. Just looking at environmental exposures, and all of these things can add up over time and contribute to this dominance of estrogen and substances like estrogen in the body. And then eat your greens. So I think that's pretty much the material I have for today. But I did want to talk, of course, about how to get your greens in, and also offer you a convenient supplement option, which is great, especially if you're someone who doesn't like vegetables. So let me go back to your program guide here and just look at it. Yep, so, okay, so from my blog, I've got a recipe for you, peanut butter and jelly green smoothie. So this is, you can either use actual greens, which you need a good blender for, or you can use the powdered green supplement. It's called Power Greens, but it's powdered, that I'm going to tell you about in a second. So this smoothie kind of hides the taste of the greens, which is perfect if you're not that into vegetables, or, especially in a drink. And it has this very comforting taste of peanut butter and jelly. So you can check that out. There's a link in your program guide. And then separately, I gave you 3 lists of recipes. Recipes for kale, Swiss chard, and collard greens. So you will have plenty of options and plenty of ways to try your greens. And then also just make sure that you're following me on Instagram, Living Vibrantly, or I'd say Instagram is the best place, where I post my dinner pretty much every night, and you can see how I'm eating my greens and hopefully get some ideas there. All right, so if eating, I was going to say, so you put it in your smoothie, have it as a side dish with lunch or dinner. You can cook up, spinach is another one that is in this category that I haven't mentioned yet, which is probably the most convenient one. So I put spinach in my smoothie every morning. And then, it's very easy to make spinach and eggs for breakfast, or, kale goes well with eggs too. The thing about collard greens especially are a little more tough. So this recipe that I gave you is wraps, like a chicken wrap with collard greens as instead of like a pita. which I think is pretty yummy, and like you expect that texture a little more. It's not that they're tough to chew, but they're just, I don't want to say leathery, but more like the consistency of a pita, more so than like a spinach leaf. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to turn you off to Swiss or to collard greens, because I actually really love collard green wraps, so give them a try. And if you find recipes that you love, come back in this group and post them so other people can see, or you know, post them as a comment on this video. I would love to know what you try, and if you liked it. All right, so let's talk about this Power Green supplement for people who hate vegetables or just, you know, have trouble getting them in. This is really nice to use when I travel because it's very hard to get a decent sized serving of vegetables in a restaurant, right? So I was going to bring the tub downstairs. I have one upstairs, and of course I forgot, but it looks basically like the one I was showing you yesterday, the Focused Energy. $35 for a month's supply, and again, you get $10 off if you order by April 1st. So it's a special just for this program if you have been wanting to try it. It is called Power Greens, and it's a powdered product. It's basically, I mean, it's just powdered food. All of these supplements are, but this one especially is ingredients that you will recognize. Let me read it to you. Oh, there it is. Okay. We got a new website recently, so sometimes it takes me a couple clicks to find things. All right. Shakeology Power Greens. And again, this is meant to be added to a smoothie, not necessarily to like just mix with water and drink on its own. You don't have to necessarily mix it with Shakeology, though. It would go great in the recipe from my blog that I gave you, the PB&J smoothie. All right, what have we got here? I know there's spinach in it. Okay, chlorella, which is actually algae. I haven't even talked about that, but blue-green algae. Very, very powerful source of energy on a cellular level. So chlorella is actually the first ingredient, chlorella powder. It's similar to spirulina, which you may have heard of. Spinach powder, cucumber powder, celery powder, kale powder, matcha green tea powder, which I talked about yesterday. And that's it. That's all the ingredients. So it's a very short, clean ingredient list, real food. No preservatives, no additives, no flavorings. I mean, if you don't like kale, this is kind of going to taste like kale, so that's why I recommend that you mix it with other things, such as the peanut butter and jelly smoothie. But again, I love the Power Greens when I travel. Very, very convenient option, and especially if you like smoothies, it's a great way to get vegetables in and get all of the benefits of greens that I have outlined in this video. So that is all for now. I'm going to give you the link in the comments, and it's also in your program guide for the Power Greens supplement. And I will see you tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about fiber, which we all know about fiber and digestion, right? But there's more to it than meets the eye. So I hope you come join me, and I'll tell you more tomorrow.